Welcome to ZPF Echo. We're about to dive into one of the biggest, maybe the biggest question there is, free will. We all feel like we're the ones in charge, right? The authors of our own story. But what if the science, and maybe a deeper look at reality itself, tells a completely different story? Okay, let's get into it. So, let's just start with this very moment. You clicked on this. You made a choice to be here. Or did you? I mean, it sure feels like a conscious decision. But what if that feeling, that sense of, I chose this, is really just the final frame of a movie that started rolling long before you were even aware of it? 7 seconds. Get this, that's how much of a head start your brain has on you. In a 2013 study at the Max Planck Institute, scientists could actually predict which button a person would press a full 7 seconds before that person consciously knew what they were going to do. Think about that. Your brain knew your decision way before you did. And this isn't some new radical idea either. Way back in 1983, a neuroscientist named Benjamin Libet did this now legendary experiment. He found this thing called the readiness potential, basically a burst of brain activity that happens about 350 milliseconds before you're even consciously aware you're about to move a muscle. The decision happens on an unconscious level, and it kind of feels like our conscious mind just gets the memo later. So what does this all point to? Well, it seems like both modern neuroscience and classic philosophy are arriving at the same pretty wild conclusion. The feeling that we're in the driver's seat, that we're consciously making choices, it might just be an illusion, a story we tell ourselves after the fact to make sense of it all. To really wrap our heads around this, we need a new way of thinking about it. So, let's imagine our conscious self isn't the CEO, but more like a biological operating system. Let's just call it the Ego OS. Okay, so this Ego OS, it's like a super advanced biological computer. It's constantly taking in data from your memories, your feelings, your senses, and it weaves all of that together to create this character, this persona that you call me. And it's so good at its job, it's totally convinced it's running the whole show. But according to this idea called the passive consciousness hypothesis, it's not the director at all. It's just sitting in the audience, watching the movie unfold. And look at how limited its view is. The Ego OS builds its entire world based on what our 5 senses tell it. But scientifically, the information we actually perceive is a tiny, almost laughable fraction of what's really out there. We're literally experiencing less than 1/1,000,000% of reality and calling it the whole thing. It's kind of wild. So a great way to think about your Ego OS is like a sports commentator calling a game. It's watching everything happen, and it's providing this fantastic running narrative, explaining the plays, giving context, making predictions. It feels like it's part of the action, but it's not actually on the field. It's just observing and reporting on a game that's already in motion, a reality that's already been rendered. Now, if we run with this idea that we're just passive observers, it forces us to ask a really huge question. What if our whole understanding of cause and effect is backward? Let's explore a different model of reality that just turns that whole idea completely on its head. Okay, so here's the everyday story our Ego OS tells us. It's super simple, super linear. You have a thought or a desire, that's the cause. That leads you to take an action. And that action produces a result, which is the effect. I want tea, so I boil water, and the result is I feel comfort. Simple, logical cause and effect, right? Now let's flip it completely. What if the state of being is the actual cause? You don't act to get a result. Your state of being is the cause that renders everything else. So the true cause is a vibration of comfort. The universe, or the field, then renders an entire story package to match that vibration. And that package includes the thought, I want tea, and the action of boiling water. The thought and the action, they're all part of the effect. Let's use a real-world example, like getting sick. The Ego OS view is straightforward. A virus is the cause, getting sick is the effect. But in this other view, the true cause might be an internal state, a vibrational misalignment, maybe from stress or something else. That state of being is the cause. The effect is the reality of sickness being rendered. And that reality includes a believable story for our Ego OS to latch onto, like, oh, I caught a virus. Okay, so if our thoughts and our actions are actually part of the effect, then what in the world is the true cause? Well, this new model suggests it all boils down to just one thing: vibration. And this is really the heart of it all. Your reality isn't something you build brick by brick with your actions. It's more like a direct reflection or rendering of the vibrational frequency of your being. Your thoughts and actions, they might play a part, but the fundamental cause is the state you are embodying. This all starts to click when we stop seeing consciousness as just one thing and start seeing it in layers. First, there's the me. That's our ego OS, the character playing a role in the story. But deeper than that, there's the I, the silent observer. That's the part of you that can notice, I'm feeling angry, without getting lost in the anger. And deeper still, there's Z, the vibration designer, the core of your being that is actually selecting the frequency that reality then renders around you. So the real key here is to stop identifying so strongly with the operating system. You are not the constant stream of thoughts, the shifting emotions, or the knee-jerk reactions. You are the quiet, spacious awareness that's behind all of that. The I consciousness that is simply observing the ego OS run its programs. Okay, so wait. If our actions are basically pre-scripted and our ego is just a passive observer, does that mean free will is totally dead? That we're just puppets? Well, no, not at all. It just means we've been looking for it in completely the wrong place. This right here is the fundamental shift. The ego OS thinks freedom is all about action, the freedom to choose what to do. But that's a kind of false freedom because it's always stuck inside a story that's already been rendered. True freedom, the freedom of the I consciousness, is about choosing your vibration. It's the freedom to choose your state of being, which is what actually selects the cause of the next story that gets rendered. See, your real power isn't in hustling and trying to manipulate the effects, the events, and outcomes in the 3D world. Your true point of power, your real free will, is in choosing the frequency you want to align with, right here, right now. That is the one choice that actually changes everything. So the ultimate question isn't, what should I do next? The real question is, what frequency am I choosing to be right now, in this moment? Because whatever you choose to resonate with, well, that's the cause of the reality you're about to experience. The choice has always been yours.